Alright guys, this is going to be a little short video just on refreshing you on greatest common factor. We did this learning target video over the weekend or last Thursday night, but I wanted to just spend one more night just kind of giving you some practice problems here just to make sure you're all good. So this is not going to be anywhere in your notes, so you're just going to need to get a blank sheet of paper out and be writing this down. So I will check this tomorrow, so make sure it gets in your math binder and everything there. So I definitely want you to be writing what I'm writing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put two numbers here. I'm going to do 18 and I'm going to do 36. Okay? Now, GCF, greatest common factor. So to break it down, we're looking for we're going to break these down to their factors, and then we're going to try to find one that they have in common, because they could have several in common. Okay, but then we want to know the biggest one they have in common. For instance, we know that both 18 and 36 have a factor of 1. Okay, that is a common factor that they share, because we know that 18 is divisible by 1 and 36 is also divisible by 1. So that is a CF, or a common factor, but when we're doing this skill, we are looking for greatest common factor. So it's not just about finding one, it's about finding the biggest one. Okay? So how you do this is you start with your prime factorization, which we worked on today again. So I'm pretty certain that everybody is pros at it now, hopefully. So 18, we're going to break this down. You could break it between 2 and 9. You could have also broken it to 3 and 6. It doesn't really matter. This I'm going to break to 4 and 9. But just so you guys all know, I could have broken it to 2 and 18, or I could have broken it to 6 and 6. It doesn't matter. Okay, it's the same process regardless. Okay, so I look and I say, okay, 2 and 9. Are either of those prime? Hopefully you're all saying, yes, 2 is prime. But 9 is not prime. 9 is composite. So we need to break that down further. Okay, go over to here. 4, it is not prime, so it needs to be broken down further. 9 is not prime, so it needs to be broken down further. So how does 9, what two numbers can multiply to get 9? 3 and 3. Both of those are prime, meaning they only have two factors. Okay. 4 would be 2 and 2, because 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, 9 then would be 3 and 3. And there we go. Okay, so all we've done is the prime factorizations. Remember, the factor trees. Keep in mind that the prime factorization is not this. If I ask you to do the prime factorization, I'm not asking for a tree. I'm asking for the list. So we're going to take these prime factorizations, and we're actually going to write them out the correct way. So 2 times 3 times 3. Remember always just to check this, actually multiply it to make sure it actually equals 18. Okay, so 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. We just don't want to make any silly mistakes. And then we're going to take this prime factorization and do the same thing. 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Okay? Now, again, make sure we're checking. We got to make sure that that prime factorization actually equals 36. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3, 12, and 12 times 3 is 36. So again, that's just a little check that you can do to catch your mistake before you get into the next step here. So the next step, now we're going to look for what I call CFs, or common factors. We're going to see what prime factors these two numbers have in common. So another thing I like to do is to put 18 and 36 with a little colon, just to make sure I know which prime factorization goes for what number. Okay? So you can use a highlighter, you can use different colors, however you want to do it, but we are going to look for CFs, common factors. So factors that show up in both prime factorizations. So here I see that they both share a 2. I see that they both share a 3, and they both also share another 3. Okay? Now, this is where the steps maybe get a little bit more challenging. What you're going to do is you're going to take one of these from each. So we have a common 2, we're going to bring down that common 2. We have a common 3, we're going to bring down that common 3. And we have a second common 3, so we're going to bring down that common 3. Okay? Now to actually find the greatest common factor, we are going to multiply these common factors here. We're going to get 2 times 3 is 6, times 3 is 18. My GCF for this problem is 18. Okay? Let's do another one. And if you'd like to pause this before you attempt it and then play it to see if you get it right, that's fine also. So we're going to do 24 and we will do 32. Okay? So again, we're trying to find the GCF, the greatest common factor. Okay? So the first step, do your prime factorization that we've all mastered. Okay? There's a lot of combinations of factors you could use. I'll just use 2 and 12. I recognize that 2 is prime, so I circle it. Got to break down 12 to 2 and 6. Again, I recognize 2 is prime. And then 6, that can break down to 2 and 3. Make sure you're not doing 3 and 3. It's not addition, it's multiplication. Okay, 2 and 3. Okay. Now I'm going to go down here. I'm going to list out my prime factorization for 24. So it's going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Again, checking. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2, 8, times 3, 24. So I know that I got the correct prime factorization. Now I'm going to do 4 and 8 here. Neither of those are prime, so I'm going to break them down further. This is going to break down to 2 and 2, which are both prime. Okay. 8 would break down to 2 and 4, 2 being prime. And then 4 would break down to 2 and 2. And then make sure you're circling them. Okay. Now I'm going to bring it down here. Just showing what number this prime factorization goes with is going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Now check it. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 16, times 2 32. Okay, so I just made sure that that was correct. I didn't make a small error, maybe doing, like I see you guys doing a lot of this, where you'll put 4 and 4 right there. Okay, that's incorrect. It's multiplication, not addition. So at this point, now we're going to go through here, and we are going to look for CFs. We're going to look for CFs, common factors. Okay, again, you can use a highlighter or a different color, whatever you want to do, but I see that we have a common 2. I see that we have another common 2, and I see that we have a third common 2. Okay, I don't see anything else in common. Make note here. These two right here, don't write this. These two are not considered CFs because they're not from the different prime factorizations. This is in the same row. We are only interested in if they are shared between the two different numbers. Okay, now we're at this step. We're going to bring one down from each pair. So basically we're saying, okay, they have one common 2, they have a second common 2, and a third common 2. Now we're going to take those and we're going to multiply them. And we're going to get 8 as our greatest common factor. Okay? If you need any additional practice problems, you can always go back to the Learning Target number 6 and number 7 video, and then you can practice with those as well. But I think this should have been a pretty good little refresher on how to do it. See you guys tomorrow.